Hey everybody, welcome to Leave No Taste. I'm Mark, and today we are making pork heart jjajangmyeon. Jjajangmyeon is a classic Korean noodle dish with a black bean sauce that I was introduced to by a great friend of mine when I was a kid, and it was kind of a culinary revelation. Jjajangmyeon is traditionally made with vegetables, normally some form of pork. I am using pork heart today because we just got our half a pig for the year, which we get every year. And anytime I get our pig for the year or harvest an animal in the field, I like to use the heart first. It's great, delicious meat, and to me, I feel like I am kind of giving tribute to the animal that I'm going to use to sustain myself and my family. You could easily do this with, pork shoulder or ground pork, or people do it with chicken or seafood. Jjajangmyeon is really about the noodles and the sauce, and you can use whatever meat that you like. But again, I'm starting with pork heart. So I've got some zucchini, a half an onion, some cabbage, some garlic and ginger. I'm going to begin by searing my pork heart in some hot oil, which I have going on the stove over here. While I'm searing my pork heart, I'm going to go ahead and drop my noodles, which I've made some fresh egg noodles. I have a link for my recipe for fresh egg noodles attached to the bottom of this. Traditionally, jjajangmyeon would be made with something more similar to udon noodles or ramen noodles if you were in Korea, but I happen to be here and I like making my egg noodles, and so I'm going to serve it with my homemade egg noodles. So while the pork heart is searing, I'm going to go ahead and drop, a batch of these in. Stir these around just to make sure they're seared on all sides. So our pork heart has been seared and is cooked maybe, 3/4 of the way. You want it to be cooked, but it's going to go back into the sauce and it's going to finish off in there, which is going to contribute some more flavor. Being a really lean cut, you don't want to cook it too far because it can be tough and chewy that way. So we've got it about 3/4 of the way that we'll add back to the sauce, but we're going to go ahead and start building our sauce right now. So that's the seared pork heart. We're going to set it on the side, and I'm going to start adding my vegetables, starting with half a yellow onion. It's going to go straight into the hot oil that I've already cooked pork heart in. About a 1/4 head of green cabbage diced up. This is going to reduce a lot. I know it looks like a big pile on the cutting board, but when it comes down to it, the cabbage is going to render. And these are pretty traditional ingredients for jjajangmyeon. Cabbage, zucchini, onions. A lot of people use different ingredients. You could use daikon radish, you could use carrots, but I'm going to go somewhat traditional here outside my egg noodles as opposed to my udon or ramen noodles. So I'm going to go ahead and get my vegetables sweating down. I'm going to add my garlic and ginger. Fresh grated. You could use dried ginger, you could use dried garlic as well. To be honest with you, this is one of my all-time favorite dishes because I was introduced to this as a kid with one of my best friends that I knew, his parents were from South Korea. And as a kid, we would be able to cook these packages of jjajangmyeon, which were, we had like ramen noodle style packages. It wasn't anything we were making from scratch. I didn't know the real recipe, but just tasting it for the first time was like this culinary, mind-boggling experience for me. I was blown away by like the richness and the depth of the flavor from the black bean sauce. So I always look forward to eating at Young's Place, especially because like having these amazing flavors that were a complete, again, culinary revelation to me that I've carried with me my entire life and really influences a lot of my cooking today because it was, those flavors and a simple package of jjajangmyeon has turned into, everything you see today. Right, so my egg noodles are done. I pulled them off, dressed them with a little bit of sesame oil just to keep them from sticking together. But they're all the way cooked. I'm gonna rest them on the side, keep them warm. Maybe put a towel over the top here. I've got my vegetables cooking down in the oil. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my black bean paste. I have about 4 ounces here. And part of jjajangmyeon, as I have researched it, means cooked sauce. And so searing the black bean paste is actually part of the process because it takes away a little bit of the bitterness of the fermented black beans. So we're going to let that sear in the hot oil along with the vegetables here. All right, so our black bean sauce is starting to cook down with the vegetables. I'm going to add 1.5 tablespoons of sugar just for balance because the depth of the richness and depth can give a little bit of bitterness when you sear it, so the sweetness is a nice balance. I also have, and this is totally optional, 1 ounce of oyster sauce with 1 ounce of cider vinegar. Traditionally, people would use rice wine or rice wine vinegar. I don't have either of those at the moment, and so I'm going to use cider vinegar instead. So I just added the pork heart back to the sauce to simmer down and contribute a little bit of flavor. I am going to go ahead and add about 1.5 cups of stock. This is just some pork stock that I made. You could easily use any chicken stock, beef bouillon. Frankly, you could use water if you had to in a pinch. Just make sure to season it to give a little more flavor. I have my noodles that I've already pulled off and I'm resting. I dress them with a little bit of sesame oil just to keep them from sticking together until my sauce is reduced and finished. And we're going to go ahead and top off our jjajangmyeon after that. So now that my sauce is at a rolling boil and has simmered down with the pork heart in it, I'm going to add a little bit of what they call a slurry in culinary terms, but it's just a little bit of cornstarch and water. It's 1 ounce of cornstarch and 1/2 cup of water. And as you add it to boiling liquid, it basically serves just to thicken your sauce and bind it together, give it a nice texture. So I'm going to stir this into the boiling liquid until it has a nice, silky, smooth texture. And then we're going to serve this over some noodles and we will have jjajangmyeon. So I really wish y'all could smell this through the camera. I know that you can't, but it smells amazing. And this is one of the culinary memories that is burned into my brain, and I know a lot of you have the same thing. But yeah, simmering black bean sauce is something to be revered. So our sauce is done and ready to go. Our noodles are cooked and rested, so we're going to go ahead and plate up here. I'm going to do a couple pinches of noodles. Oh, missed one there. I'm going to top off with our Jjajangmyeon sauce. Myeon is apparently the word for noodles. So there are a couple different versions, whether you serve this with rice or with noodles. But yeah, this is our classic Jjajangmyeon that traditionally is also served with sliced cucumbers as a topping to give a little fresh taste, just something to counter the depth of the overall dish. I'm going to give it a little dash of sesame seeds. And there you have it. Pork heart Jjajangmyeon. We'll see you next time on Leave No Taste. And always make the most of the food you make.